Imagine discovering a flower that, when you smell its scent, can erase a memory and replace it with a new one. No science, no machines, just the quiet hum of the Amazon's own magic. What if a botanist, just taking a sample for a science journal, begins to forget who she is? What if that flower could change the world, or destroy the person who found it? She wore a worn notebook and a pair of gloves that had seen more rain than sun. At 30, her days were filled with cataloging leaf shapes and measuring the growth of seedlings in a small community garden. Her dream was to one day plant a forest of seedlings that would help fight climate change, but each week the bills piled up. The city lights glowed bright and unkind, and the idea of a big wild adventure seemed as distant as the stars. When she was a child, her grandmother told stories of a hidden garden deep in the rainforest, where flowers grew that could talk to animals. Maya always laughed, thinking it was just a bedtime tale, but the stories lingered, a quiet spark in her mind, and when she earned a scholarship to study tropical plants, that spark grew into a quiet flame. Her professor, a gentle woman named Anna, had just published a paper on a new species of orchid that could alter the behavior of insects. Maya read it with fascination. The paper said nothing about memory, but Anna's voice in her mind whispered a question. What if plants could talk in a way that rewrote memories, not just the way they do with hormones? When Maya's research team received a letter from a remote ranger station deep in the Amazon, she saw it as a chance. The ranger said there was a rare flower, no name, that had a strange scent. Maya's curiosity was a flame that she could not put out. The ranger's words were simple. If you come, bring your notebook. But be careful, the forest has its own stories. Maya packed her bag with a small notebook, a camera, a spare set of gloves, and a bottle of water. She left her town behind and boarded a long flight to the rainforest. The first days were a blur of green, thick vines and the constant buzz of insects. She met a small tribe of people who lived in harmony with the forest. They welcomed her with open hands and told her stories of the silent bloom, a flower that grew only in a single patch of earth beneath the canopy. They said that the scent of the flower could change how animals remember, that it could heal a wounded heart or bring a child back to play. Maya asked to see the flower. The elder, a tall man named Juan, led her to a path that smelled of wet soil and fallen leaves. The silent bloom sat like a pearl in a shallow pool of light. It was a small white flower, its petals smooth as silk. The air around it carried a faint sweet scent that made Maya's stomach turn. She lifted her hand, pressed a petal to her nose, and inhaled. Her mind flashed back to a memory of her grandmother's kitchen, the smell of cinnamon and the laugh of a child. The scent lingered in the air. Maya felt something shift inside her. She thought of her own childhood and the way the world looked bright, but the next moment she could not recall a detail. The smell, she realized, had touched her memories in a way she had never imagined. The next day Maya returned to the forest with a small sample of the flower, carefully sealed in a glass vial. She was careful not to let the scent escape, but the moment the vial cracked, a faint scent filled the air. Animals in the forest seemed to pause. A jaguar, drawn by the scent, approached and then turned away. A troop of monkeys lifted their heads, their eyes bright, and then moved in a new rhythm. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She was excited by the discovery, but also frightened. She went back to the village and told Anna about the flower. Anna listened with a calm expression. "It is powerful," she said, "but we must be careful." Anna suggested that they test the flower in a controlled way. Maya agreed, and together they set up a small experiment. They placed a few petals in a small enclosure with a group of chickens. The chickens, which had always pecked the ground for grain, started to eat from the top of the cage. They seemed to have forgotten how to forage. The experiment was a success in a frightening way. They saw that the flower's scent could rewrite memories. It was not just in animals, the scent also touched Maya's own mind. She started to forget the names of places she had walked through her life. She could not recall a song she used to sing. The flower's perfume seeped into her thoughts like a tide. Maya's world shifted. She had to decide to use the flower for good or to destroy it to protect her own sanity. Her memories became a tangle. She could not remember her grandmother's voice or the taste of her first bite of mango. Her mentor, Anna, saw the change in her and told her that the flower's scent could heal but also harm. She had seen other people who had used the flower in secret to rewrite their own memories for profit, to escape pain. The forest was not a lab. It was a living, breathing system. The next day, a group of men in uniforms came to the village. They were a secret organization from the government, a group that wanted to use the flower to manipulate animals for war or to control the minds of people. They had heard of Maya's discovery and were there to seize the flower. Maya saw them as the final twist in her story. They had eyes that flicked like a hawk and wanted to take the silent bloom. Maya had no choice but to act. She told Anna that she could not let the flower fall into their hands. Together, they carried the sample to the deepest part of the forest, to a place where the ground was a shallow pool of water that reflected the canopy above. It was a place that no human had ever seen before. They placed the flower into the water and covered it with a blanket of leaves. The flower's scent began to swirl in the air. The sound of the forest echoed around them. In that quiet place, Maya felt her own memories pull like a tide. She remembered her grandmother's stories, her first love, and the way the sky looked after a storm. The flower's scent was not just rewriting memory, it was a mirror of what the mind had forgotten. When the men appeared, they were shocked. The forest seemed to swallow their light. They tried to grab the flower, but the petals fell into the water. The scent that rose from the water was like a song. It filled their heads with old memories, memories of their childhood, of family, of laughter. The men felt a wave of nostalgia and regret. They had wanted the flower for power, but the scent reminded them of why they had chosen a life of secrecy. The men left, their faces pale. Maya and Anna watched as the water lapped against the edge of the pool. The flower's petals floated down, their scent lingering like a gentle breeze. The forest in all its silence seemed to breathe a sigh. Maya looked at the pond and realized that the silent bloom was not a weapon or a cure. It was a reminder that memories shape who we are. When she returned to the city, Maya carried the memory of the silent bloom like a seed. She chose not to publish her findings. Instead, she decided to share her story with the people of the forest, to let them know that their world held a secret that could change them. She spoke to the children of the village and told them about the flower, about how the scent could heal and also hurt. She taught them to respect the memory and the power of nature. In the end, Maya understood that the flower was a part of the forest's rhythm. She chose to protect her own sanity by not letting the flower's scent change her too much. She let the flower remain hidden, a silent bloom in the dark of the Amazon, a quiet reminder that the forest holds the power to shape memories, but it also requires respect. The memory of the flower, like all good things, is not in the change it brings, but in the choice we make about what to keep and what to let go. The story of the silent bloom lingers like a quiet song in the mind, a thought that even after all the science and mystery, the greatest power in nature is the power to remember who we are and to choose what to keep in our hearts.
Found this interesting? Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, share it out, and drop your questions or ideas in the comments. Until our next adventure.